But I think as of March 1st, it goes back to banal. Oh my God, we can't get away. Every time we try and take a turn, much like the Exit 8, we keep coming back. Welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
And my name is David.
How we feeling?
Fuck the flu, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I beat it. I'm here. I'm still alive.
I survived.
I'm
yeah.
defeated by viruses so far in my life.
It was trying. It
was really trying to take me down.
That you described to me sounded harrowing.
It was something else.
Yeah.
Chills and headaches and just not feeling great and being so ill I couldn't look at a screen and I couldn't sleep and I couldn't open my eyes. I just had to exist in a liminal space of pain.
There's no part of me that likes being sick, but there is a sweet spot. I will say that, like, if you can just be sick and also be able to play video games, it dulls the pain of being sick.
Yeah. I got there eventually. Just like not like the first couple days.
No. But that's what I'm saying. Like those days where it's like, I can't even pretend to try and have fun right now. Like I can do nothing but lay in just this malaise of horrible shit.
I'm really not having a good time right now, bro. Was kind of the theme for the week. Yeah.
Are you currently taking Mucinex, or are we back to all natural?
I was pounding the Mucinex. I pound the Mucinex, the ibuprofen. I started dabbling in the Dayquil recently.
Ooh, yeah.
I was taking it all, baby.
Yeah.
But no, right now I'm currently off the sauce.
Yeah, sure. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was so convinced that you were not going to be ready for a podcast. I was like, there's just no way. He was in hell.
Dude, I was down for the count.
Yeah.
But hey, baby, nothing can stop me from talking about these games. I didn't hear no bell. I'm back.
Well, what do you got? What did you play in your sicky stupor?
I played Indiana Jones. That's a pretty good sick game because it is a lot of story. Mm-hmm. Pretty low pace action game, right? Well, actually more just like adventure game, really. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while you do have to engage in fisticuffs with a giant, but for the most part you're just kind of tooling around some hidey holes in the Vatican and knocking out fascists every now and then.
Sure.
So yeah, that game is still very fun. I found myself embroiled in a fascist underground boxing ring, which was great. Yeah. I really enjoyed that as a side quest especially because I knew that I had to get good at the boxing component of the game, like the bare knuckle brawling portion of the game.
The pugilism, yeah.
The pugilism of the game. And it was a trying experience because these fascists were just kicking my ass and I just couldn't have it.
Yeah.
I couldn't have it. But once because you can do quite a few things with the melee combat in this game, right? Mm-hmm. You can dodge, you can block, you can counter, like parry-esque things. And if you can push people, and depending on whether or not someone hits you with a right hook or a left hook, depending on like how you block it, if you then press the wrong button, like if someone attacks you with their right hand and then you parry it and you're open for an attack, if you press like the left punch button, it won't punch them. It'll like push them back, like slap them. Yeah. As opposed to just like decking them, right? So if they go with their right, you got to counter with the right, and that'll get a good, nice smack on them. Yeah. So there is a little bit of thought in this bare knuckle brawling. Yeah. Yeah. Which makes it a little bit more engaging. But that was very fun to just go through and make my way up the fascist fighting ring. Yeah. The Coliseum. Great. The Coliseum. I usually don't do those kind of things, but I knew I had to get ready because in the beginning of this game, you get your whole ass handed to you by a giant, they call him, which is a very large man. And I knew I was going to have to fight him again. And lo and behold, here he comes, all like 7 foot of him. Beat his ass. It was great. Yeah. The fascists prepared me. It was all about power all along, I guess. Sure. Yeah. So that was good. Nice. The story in the game is very fun. It's getting a little crazy. The Great Circle apparently is an idea in archaeology that all these religious sites across the world are make a circle around the globe, right? And that has some sort of power. And so the Nazis, of course, are after that.
Yeah.
And Mussolini made an appearance in this game too. I'm just like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen Mussolini in a game before. It's quite the deep pull.
Yeah.
But he was a real bastard. It was great. I loved hating Mussolini in this game.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, the game is still very fun. And now I'm in Giza, they call it, Egypt. So a new area for me to explore as Mr. Indianapolis Jones.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, very fun game. Speaking of boxing, I also got recommended a game by a dear friend and listener, Drew.
Yeah.
It is UFC 5, Chase.
Okay, UFC 5. Is this like the most recent iteration of the UFC games?
Yes. As far as I know, it is the sequel to the game where you made the Stomping Man. The Stomp Monster.
You talking about Wario?
Yes.
With his rocket kicks?
Yes.
Yeah. I think so. This is one that came out in like late 2023, I think. Yeah, that's when it released.
Number 5?
Yeah, UFC 5.
Oh.
Is 6 out?
Ooh.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just not on the like yearly grind that most other sports games are.
I know, like NBA, 2K, and Madden have just broken my brain to be like, well, you need a new sports game every year, right?
Yeah.
Definitely do not.
Oh, cool. How is this one?
It's fun. I really enjoy the level of intricacy to the fights.
Yeah.
And there are some strange similarities between this and the brawling in Indiana Jones.
Sure, yeah.
But it's very tactical. It's very, very tactical how you play this game if you're really trying to play it and not just do rocket kicks.
Yeah.
It's very much like how when people describe how they play a fighting game like Tekken or something where you have to do like, there's the middle ground, like where you're like just jabbing out just to create space. And then you just like have to wait for your moment to do like the big moves.
Right.
It really does that well. And then there's a whole entire grappling mechanic that is very engaging. So like if you knock someone down, you can get onto them from the floor and then just start beating their ass. So there is a depth to it, and like a level of refinement to it that's very engaging, and also stands in stark contrast to how much they revel in just the brutality of what you're doing in the game.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you knock someone out, it does like 4 or 5 slow motion cameras angles of like this person's light fading from their eyes and then just blood and spit just pouring from their mouth as you just clock them hard.
Yeah.
And then your little avatar character is just prancing around the ring like, yeah, I just beat some ass.
I did a good violence.
I just did a good violence. But it is satisfying. I don't know if I need 5 different angles and like the digitalized blood to make me feel like, I did it. But just the combat itself is fun. And you really have to pay attention, not just to yourself, but to your opponent too. Like your opponent will kick your ass if you're not like really trying to read what they're doing.
Yeah.
That might be even like more important than knowing what kind of hit you're going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had in this game.
You're not like a UFC guy, right?
No, Drew had recommended this to me, and he said that he was getting into a flow state like he did with Sekiro, and then when he invoked Sekiro, I was like, I gotta try.
Yeah, I have to, yeah.
I gotta try and see what he's talking about. I don't know if I've gotten quite there yet. I'm just not good enough yet, but I could see how you could get there. And I could also see Drew just going hard on the online mode. I think he was texting our group chat about it.
Yeah.
And going hog wild on it, which sounds pretty fun. Pretty fun. But another fun thing about this game is that there is a UFC fighter with my same name. It's just my last name is one letter off. He has a Z at the end. I have an S at the end.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So I was able to pretty much just like have my actual last name in a game for the first time in my life, which was kind of
incredible.
Fun. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So thank you, David Benavidez, the UFC fighter, MMA fighter.
Yeah.
For letting me live my dreams electronically.
In some ways, I very much like, not to sound like so soft, but like I do like the game over the real thing. You know, I don't really have to feel quite as bad about the violence being done in the game. Like it's a depiction of a real thing, which makes it a little troubling, but like I don't have that much of a desire to go watch that level of violence in real life. Like boxing seems like one thing and it's already kind of brutal, but like to just add in like, what if we made it like more brutal? You know, like what if we literally took the gloves off? And I don't have a lot of desire for that. But the video game version, like, all right, sure. Like, you know, like Tekken's fine. I don't have any moral qualms with Tekken. So like, it's very similar.
It's goofier.
Yeah.
There's pandas and
I mean, for sure. Yeah. I just mean like the level of hurt that that is being done to the people in either one of those games is pretty bad.
The tutorial level in this one made me a little squeamish because like it starts off with your character just having the most fucked up eye, just like bleeding all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, if you take more damage to your face, like you're going to lose. And just the sound effects when you would get hit in the face, like the crunching and the gushing was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Brutal. So yeah, that is, I think, very much appeals to a certain crowd. And it's not a bad thing if it appeals to you, I would say, but it's not necessarily something I search for in a game.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, speaking of ultra violence, I have also beaten Ninja Gaiden Black 2.
Oh, damn, you cruised through this game.
I did. I was one with the dragon sword. I was the dragon ninja in this game.
How did you feel about it?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I definitely got into a flow state with this game, and this was actually probably my favorite of the sick games I played, surprisingly enough, because I was just like, I'm a ninja, here we go, and just destroyed some fiends. But yeah, it was a very fun game. It didn't have any really annoying or like bad power creep at the end, or not power creep, difficulty spikes at the end like the first one did. Because the first one, I remember it had, oh man, just like the last gauntlet of bosses in that game was ridiculous, and they had like no save point in between them. This game had liberal save points, which I was grateful for, and it didn't have a timed escape from this place parkour run section from Ninja Gaiden 1 had, which made me lose my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
That part really messed me up. You know how I am with that kind of stuff, Chase. You would have been there with me. I'm bad at that kind of stuff, just so people know.
It's like anything where platforming is a requirement, and like if it doesn't play like Mario, it's such a problem. Like Ninja Gaiden and Wind Waker are in similar genres of like how challenging it can be to platform in them.
For me, yes.
For David, yes.
So yeah, I thought the game was great. It was ridiculous. It was fun. It was problematic in some ways, but overall, it was a fun time. Yeah. No regrets. Ninja Gaiden Black 2, great game.
Like in comparing it to the first one, does it kind of just feel like more Ninja Gaiden?
Yes. It
like,
feels
is there an identity to this one unto itself, or is it kind of just that?
No, I think we talked about this a little bit last time, in that, you know, back when this game came out, it was like you had the original and then you had the second one, which was just kind of like looking at the original and just trying to, you know, smooth out any of the rough edges and really refine it.
Yeah.
And that's really what this game felt like.
Yeah.
It was just more weapons, more levels, more enemies, more explosions. It looks better. It's just more of a good thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it really has an identity besides that.
Yeah.
Very fun. It's hard to explain, but it's just a fun game. And one thing I will say, it does a great job of making cool upgrades to your weapons.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. Like visual cool upgrades.
And also the lunar staff, when you get it all the way upgraded, instead of having just being a staff, it has 2 flails on the end, which is awesome. It's very cool. And that was pretty much the weapon I used throughout the whole end of the game, even more than the true dragon sword, because I'm like, this thing's just ripping these people apart.
It's really good for fighting like more than one person at a time.
Absolutely, because it's just throwing out so much. Got a big hitbox. Did you beat this one?
No, I didn't beat the second one. No.
It's worth a peruse.
All right.
The last boss battle is pretty fun.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about isn't necessarily a video game, but it is a game.
Whoa. Stick and hoop, baby. We're back. It's 1920 again. Your grandpa's here.
We're playing hoop stick out here, sonner.
Or you're just going to knock it around the neighborhood, see how far we can get it. Skip rocks.
I went 3 3 whole blocks one time.
We're going to skip rocks at the reservoir and then eat just the worst food you've ever laid eyes on.
What food? What food? Is it food at the reservoir?
No, I'm just thinking like boomer cooking food, just like a horrible casserole with no salt in it.
Ooh, it's like a Jello casserole.
Oh man, yeah, or like just the most horrendous meatloaf of all time.
Ooh, it's meatloaf in a Jello casserole with some celery, like Cool Whip on top or something.
With some celery.
How do I make this worse? Add celery.
Celery. What is the game you played?
Anyways, it was a board game called Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. It was, I played this with my friend who visited over the weekend, Sam, and it was very fun. It is one of these board games that is essentially a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, but the dungeon master is the game itself, and in this case, an app that you download.
That's cool.
Which was actually very nice. So it had like all of these pictures on it, it had a voiceover, different voice actors doing things, and it would just guide you through the campaign, and you would just get to talk with your teammate and decide what to do and make your way through this campaign that they made. It was actually very fun and enjoyable.
That's cool.
It had a very nice way of mixing feelings of accomplishment and being strong, but also challenging you with win conditions that were sometimes difficult. So we pretty much just barely squeaked by the first round, but it felt good. It was a very fun game. I really enjoyed it.
That's neat. It looks horribly complicated. I'm looking at like pictures of it.
It is, like any board game, looks terrifying when you first take a gander at it.
Yeah.
But if you play D&D, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. And I'm a sucker for any sort of board game that creates the board map while
like
you're playing it. And this game does that very nicely. Although sometimes it would tell you on the app to like, oh, grab this piece and put it here. And then you'd be like, okay, next. And then be like, okay, now grab this piece and put it here. I'm just like, just tell me all the pieces I need to grab and then tell me where to put them. Not like get it, place, right? Because, just from a logistical standpoint, it's easier to just have them all at once. But it was a great time. It was fun. It was collaborative. I love being inspired. I love inspiration.
Sure.
And there's a lot of inspiration in this game.
I feel like we haven't talked that much about our board game consumption.
This is true.
I feel like you are more board gamey than I am, but I still enjoy board games quite a bit. I will say my desire to learn a new board game is so low most of the time, unfortunately.
Sure. It's work. It's work to learn a board game.
And like, I know that some of the sweetest fruit lays behind like 30 pages of board game instruction, like that there's such a unique experience behind like a really deep and cool board game. But like, oh man, is that learning curve so intense sometimes,
It really can be. And thankfully, since I was sick, Sam bore that mantle as the lore master, the rule master for this round. But yeah, it's just like, it's if you just give it like 15, 20 minutes, you'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
Yeah.
But I totally understand that there is a barrier there for sure. And sometimes the last thing I want to do when I come home from work is like, all right, I'm sitting down to read a new manual.
I think that's part of it, is that my job oftentimes is like reading documentation.
Sure.
And so like opening a manual, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, even starting a video game sometimes that's like really dense. I'm like, I don't know if I got the sauce for this very minute.
Absolutely.
And so I usually will just fall back on the same games that I usually play, Em and I played Splendor the other day. You fuck with Splendor at all?
I've never played it, but I've heard it's very fun.
It is pretty good. Yeah. Both of us enjoyed that one a lot. It's kind of like a card drafting game, but you're drafting with like resources. And then each one of those cards counts as a resource. And so you kind of like pick up steam eventually to be able to like buy more cards and shit. It's nice. Good. I really like it.
Do you guys have a lot of 2-player games?
Yeah, we bought a lot over the pandemic, like of just like, what is something we can do together? And like, we both typically enjoy playing them.
Yeah.
So we did invest in like quite a few 2-player games for a while. Like Machi Koro, that's a good 2-player one.
Pachikoro. Okay, you played Jaipur.
No, we don't own that, but I think we played that there's like a board game bar around our house.
Yeah, Mallory and I are big fans of Jaipur. That one's good. Patchwork is a good 2-player one. There's Seven Wonders Duel, which is a good
Yes, yeah, we played that one, yeah. Anyway, this is the board game corner, I guess.
This is the board game corner right now. Welcome. Get cozy. It's board game corner. Yeah, no, I really enjoy board games, and it's just finding the energy. It sounds so silly. Finding the energy to play a board game.
Yeah.
There's just a lot more mental energy that goes into a board game than even a video game oftentimes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Again, you have to make the video game. The rules have already been set out, but like you make it all work when you're doing it, you know? So like it is kind of an uphill battle, but again, some of the best shit is hidden behind 40 pages of a manual.
We've had some pretty
Sometimes
good times.
You just got to get in there. Yeah.
Just get a bottle of wine, play a board game with some friends.
That's the thing is, if I am drinking, I must have learned the board game prior to starting drinking. Because like my desire to open a manual is so low the moment like a drop of alcohol touches my lips.
But what if there's one person who's there to just guide you?
Oh, I'm in. If somebody knows it, I'm fine. Like I need to be able to like have it explained to me and then be like, I don't understand this. And then them explain like how it works. Because if I'm good there, it's fine. I feel like I can just kind of bounce off the walls a little bit of their support system in that case. But if it's me, and like I think the unfortunate thing is that it's usually me up here. Like if we want to learn a new board game, I got to do it. And just I'm not always up for that challenge. You know?
I get it. Yeah. I get it. But that's everything I've been playing this week, Chase.
Sick.
What have you? No. Not sick anymore.
Not sick.
Don't you put that on me?
Yeah. No, we're finished. Did you want to know? I can tell you about the games I'm playing.
What have you been playing?
I got some games for you, David. Okay, so I've got 2 games that are like spiritually connected in a way.
Ooh, okay.
And the one I'm going to start with is this game called Avowed, David.
You've been avowing.
I've been avowing. I was very nervous about this game because this is a game made by Obsidian Entertainment, and Obsidian they were like, I'm going to get hate mail for this. They were kind of for a moment viewed as like Bethesda's B team of like, we're going to give them the spin-offs and the other games and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like they made, and I'll explain to you why I might get hate for that, because they made stuff like KOTOR 2 or Fallout New Vegas and shit like that.
Yeah.
Which were spin-off, or not spin-offs in the case of KOTOR 2, but like they were sequels to established things. But I think both of those games are regarded as like the good one for a lot of people. Like, or at least KOTOR 2 is like the thinking person's KOTOR.
Sure. The thinking man's Star Wars game.
Yeah. Or even New Vegas is like, a lot of people who like Fallout will point to New Vegas and be like, that's the good one. Right. And they eventually kind of developed a name for themselves and went on to develop like Pillars of Eternity series, which is like a CRPG. And then also, I think more recently made The Outer Worlds, that was in 2019.
Yeah.
And then Pentiment as well, which I wanted to like The Outer Worlds more than I did.
Yeah.
But I still liked it. Like it wasn't the best game I had ever played, but I was like, I think I'm like cool with what they're doing here. But their promise with Avowed was like, okay, here's our take on Oblivion or Skyrim or Morrowind or any of those Bethesda fantasy games.
Yeah.
And like, again, I want to love again, you know, like
you want to love again.
I want to love again. Like
make it my first time again. Obsidian.
Like Skyrim came out so long ago, and I don't know of a lot of games in that style that have stood even close to how good it is, you know?
What's it, 13 years since Skyrim came out?
I think it came out in 2011, so like 14 years ago. And not only that, like I am such an Oblivion head. I love Elder Scrolls Oblivion. It is so bizarre, and like was the first game in that series that I was like, I'm in on this whole thing.
Yeah.
It was so impressive at the time, and to me felt like there is so much possibility in this space.
Gaming?
World in games, but just like in the like physical space in Oblivion too, of like there's such an adventuring world out there that is just waiting for me.
Yeah.
similar to like the first time you get out into the open world in Ocarina of Time. It's like when you're young, it feels like, wow, this is a gigantic, amazing place that I can't wait to go like explore. That was the same feeling I had in Oblivion. And there's just not a lot of other games, even Bethesda games, that have like stood that test to me. I like Fallout, but I'm not crazy about him. It's like kind of a painful IP for me to like experience. Just
sure.
Like shit's fucked, kid, and it's the future. And if you drink the water, it's irradiated, and there's bombs and shit. Like
it's
was that
tough.
Johnny Radiation Hand talking to me
That
just
was,
now?
Yeah, that was Johnny Radiation.
It's like very similar vibes.
Yes, yeah. And so like I think I just love the tone of a lot of those fantasy games are much more appealing to me. Of like there is a dangerous and untamed world, but like there is also good and beauty in it. Yeah, there's hope in it. Like there's no just like end of the world shit other than like the Daedra coming back, you know, like fantasy shit, which is easier for me to deal with. But I think my heart was a little bit guarded given that like the Outer Worlds was like pretty good, but not amazing. And also like I liked Starfield, but like that's not Bethesda's best game, you know? And so like anything in that kind of genre, in that realm right now, I'm just a little bit like, I don't know if it's going to be good, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that the thing when I'm thinking about why Starfield didn't work for me was that it didn't feel connected enough. Like the world felt like disparate. And of course, like it is like you're in space. So of course it's going to feel like it's farther away, but even just like the physical spaces, I was like, I am playing a video game that is loading a new area rather than like I'm wandering around Cyrodiil and like encountering a bear, you know? Like I don't care if there's a loading screen between like going outside to going inside. It's more so like that just all those physical spaces, there was not enough connective tissue between them. And so yeah, I was a little bit guarded about it. I will say I've played for, you know, a bunch of hours at this point. I think so far I am loving again.
Oh, great.
I'm loving again. It is not the kind of splash that playing Oblivion for the first time is or was or Skyrim.
That's a
hard bar to clear, you know, like, and so like, I think going into it with the recognition of like, this is not going to be as big of a leap as those games were, but that they have still brought like a lot of really good shit here is working for me.
Cool.
The guys at Into the Aether had talked about it last week, and Stephen Hilger had said that there's a missing panel from that Sonic meme of like, I want smaller games with worse graphics by people who are paid more. And Stephen had said that, I can't remember the exact wording, but like, and essentially like this game also doesn't have to be the next big thing as well.
Sure.
That like, it's okay for it to not be like a huge, gigantic game changing video game. Cause like, it's just been a long time since one of these games has come out. So like anything at this point feels like, wow, great. You know, like this is amazing. And I think that that's like helpful to keep in mind, at least for me here, not like stamping down my own expectations, but just being realistic that like, well, they weren't going to make like Baldur's Gate, you know, like that's not the thing they're doing here. And so I think it lays bare a little bit clearer, like what is fun about these games. Cause like, I think Oblivion and Skyrim purport to be like really deep RPGs, and like, they're not, you know, like the mechanically they're interesting, right? Like the kind of skill trees and shit are cool. And like being able to upgrade your own skills by doing them, like that's all great. But this isn't like, it's very rare that you're doing any sort of role playing that has like, you know, if you're comparing it against Baldur's Gate, like there's nothing going on in there that is nearly as deep as what's happening in Baldur's Gate. Like that's not present in there. And so like, so like we don't really need to do it like that. So what is fun? And I think the answer is that like they have presented a very cool world in Avowed. They have so far very great companions, and the combat feels great. Like the combat just feels good. And so I think that's all really working for me. Yeah. So what else about this? Just to like level set, you have taken the role of this person called a godlike.
Oh.
And also, to be clear, this takes place in the same world that like Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of Eternity 2 takes place in.
Okay.
And so they inherit some of the lore from there. And one of the things that is true in that world in this one is that whenever you die, you like take a trip around what they call the wheel. And it's like your soul kind of goes through this and comes back out the other side, like in the world again.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes people who go around the wheel are like touched by a god in some way. And you are one of these people who like has some connection to some god. They're very unclear about who or what it is. But this has left you with like essentially like what are the name of the mushroom monsters in Last of Us 2? Cordyceps? Yeah, whatever that is. Clickers. Like you can choose what you look like, but you get left with like some wild mushroom stuff going on in your head.
You do? Really?
Yes, yeah. It's again, you can choose whatever you want it to look like, but it's
you chose mushrooms.
Most of them are pretty mushroom in their look. I chose some that are kind of around your eyes, so it like frames her eyes in an interesting way, and then like kind of a hairpiece that's very mushroomy. It's cool. It's neat. And anyway, you have been sent by the Aegir Empire. You like kind of work for the king in some fashion out to this place called the Living Lands. And there's like this problem that they're experiencing called the Dream Scourge. And like, you're not really sure what that is, but it seems to be like corrupting the land and the monsters in it.
Oh.
The creators have been like pretty open with the fact that like they were drawing inspiration from Annihilation, that book and movie.
Sure.
And like you can see it for sure in the kind of like the animals and stuff have been turned in some way. It's not nearly as horrific as Annihilation is, but like you can see it. There's kind of this like, you know, the earth below you has been changed for the worse, and like the creatures that live on it are being changed as well. So that's just the setup. You, of course, crash land on your boat on the way there, and then have to kind of claw your way into town and shit like that. Into the End of the Aether guys compared it to like the Wild West, essentially, which like it feels that way of just like you're on the frontier and this place is largely untamed, but that like some people have scraped out a living, and like there's kind of one major settlement that is like, you know, we've built big enough walls that we're not constantly just getting attacked, but it's largely still like untamed land out here.
Okay.
All of that's very cool. I think just like the setup of the world is very neat, and the lore within it is like compelling to me. It's also helpful to just have such a clear goal of like figure out what the Dream Scourge is and fix it, you know?
Yeah.
All the
Why
while,
are dragons coming back?
Yes,
Find
exactly.
out.
Like a very clear top level thing of like, I need to figure that out. I need to figure out what's going on there. And like, yeah, so all of that's good. I love the companions that they throw at you at first, because they make the great decision to just give you Garrus up front.
Like a Garrus opening salvo, huh?
Yes. Yeah. The first shot across the bow is Garrus. Because the first companion you get is a sort of roguish mercenary who is blue and is voiced by Brandon Keener, who is Garrus's voice.
Who is Garrus?
Yes.
Oh my God, they really do give you Garrus.
They really give you Garrus up front. And like, at first I was like, that's a little silly. And then immediately I was like, nah, this is my best friend, man. I can't live without this man. His name is Kai, and he's very good. So like, that's helpful to just have like somebody I care about up front. And then the other two, or there's another companion that I got shortly thereafter, which is also, he's very good. They again do the thing that it just seems like every RPG may just need to do from here on out, which is like, it gives you a camp that you can go back to and talk to your companions and like hang out and shit. It's just phenomenal. Whenever that happens, I'm like, I gotta go yap to my friends, man. Like something has just happened and I like need to go talk to them.
I gotta decompress.
Yeah. And so like all of that's really good. I was listening to, I think it's the Experience Points podcast, and they were talking about why the writing in the most recent Dragon Age wasn't working for them. And a lot of it for them came down to the fact that like the characters in the party just did not feel like they had like stakes or problems or anything going on.
Sure.
It was just sort of like, we're here and we're like almost Marvel superheroes. We're just kind of quippy and have a good attitude, and we're going to beat the bad guy, and that's it.
Sure. Boring.
It's just kind of dry. And like, I will say like the Kai is like very much kind to you earlier, like very, very early in the game. But like the game is so clear with the fact that like he's got some shit going on, you know, like he's just not quite opening up to you fully yet. And that just works for me. You know, like I think similar to Baldur's Gate, like it is really nice to see a companion and you can tell that like they're giving you what they want you to see, but that there is much more beneath the surface.
Yeah.
That just really works for me. I really appreciate that the game is like showing the player that like there is more person under here if you want to dig for it.
Mm-hmm.
So all that's really fun. I really appreciate the kind of like tension that the game sets up too, with the fact that like you, the Adrian Empire, like you're not the first person to show up to the Living Lands from that kingdom, because like there have already been like a lot of people showing up who are like, we're gonna like quote unquote like civilize the Living Lands, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so the main city called Paradise, which is like the place that people have eked out a living, they're like not chill with the fact that the Adrians have shown up, because a lot of what happened is like the main city, the Adrians showed up and they're like, we're gonna just kind of kick everybody out and like claim this as our own.
Uh-oh.
And so there's this like really interesting like kind of political tension that's going on all the time in the game. Like anybody you talk to is like, oh God, an Adrian, like what the fuck are you doing here?
Oh.
Or somebody's like, oh, like I know you're from the Empire, but like I'll give you a chance kind of shit. Or all the Adrian people are like, oh God, these fucking Paradisians, right? Like they're just all so shitty, or like they don't know how to live out here. Like we're helping them, like, you know, come to the 21st century or whatever the actual century is. And so it's cool to be able to like, not that like political strife is cool, but it's interesting that they have like accurately depicted what it would be like for like an empire to show up, you know, and like be like, we are claiming this place for ourselves and we're going to like fix the problems that you're seeing. But a lot of what ends up happening is the people who live there just kind of get pushed out of the way, you know?
Yeah.
So I just find like the political strife of it all pretty interesting to witness. And I suspect that they will probably try to ask you at some point to come down on one way or the other.
What are you gonna do, Chase?
I mean, you know what it's got to be, man. You think I'm gonna side with the colonizers?
I don't know, man.
the one of the like the kind of like paramilitary group that has showed up with the Adrian Empire called the Steel Garrote are just like
Steel Garrote?
The Steel Garrote. Yeah, they're like just brutal people. And like, it's so interesting to see the Adrians be like, well, they don't work for us necessarily, like kind of distancing themselves, because like one of the like kind of the leader of it is like just brutal and like horrendous to all the people. And they're like, you don't want to get in her way. Like it's not cool to run into anywhere. She's just like brutal. And like I met her for the first time recently. I'm like, this is sick as fuck, but also like, man, does it make this decision all the easier.
Gotcha.
Because again, like she is the conquering force in this case, you know, like,
yeah,
I think the Adrians, at least the Empire part of it, are kind of offering like, we'd like to do diplomacy, but like not really.
Yeah.
Whereas the Steel Garrote are much more like, yeah, we work for them, but like we're going to do whatever the fuck we want. And like that oftentimes means just like, you know, marauding around the countryside and shit.
Gotcha.
So like, I think just point being with explaining all that is that it's adding up to a very believable and interesting world for me in ways that I will say, like, I don't really experience in Skyrim or Oblivion. Like,
yeah,
there's some of that in there, but it's so surface level with like the like the dark elves and like the storm cloaks and shit like that. Like it's present, but that arc is given so little attention compared to like, there's dragons in the hills and shit, you know, like, which is fine. Like it's the dragons are cool. And like, I also want to figure out why they're coming back, but it's cool to see like a game that is more interested in like what it would actually be like for the people who are living in this time and living in this place, rather than just like, you're the fucking hero, bro. And like, to be clear, you are like a very important person in this world already, but they show you a lot of the other sides of it too, which I really appreciate. One of the things that this game is doing that Outer Worlds also did was that they are pushing on density rather than like square footage. And so like the map is not as big as a Skyrim, but there's just stuff everywhere. So like you just don't really have to run as far to like get to interesting things, you know? And like, I appreciate that. Like I simply don't need games to be that big. Like it's very rare that I'm like, that 100-hour RPG was the perfect size, you know? Truly, like Metaphor Refantasio might be one of the few that I'm like, I would have taken however much you would have given. Like if it was 200 hours, it would probably be fine.
Yeah.
But like the rest of them, I'm like, I don't need it to be that long, man. Like I love Baldur's Gate, and like even still, sometimes I'm like, I am overwhelmed with the amount of shit in this game.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot. And so like, I think it's almost not an act of rebellion, but it's a little bit like counterculture to say like, we're just going to make it not that big and like make it a little bit more dense, you know?
Yeah. Counter gamer culture.
Yeah. And I like that. I like it's working for me most of the time that I'm playing this. It's rare that I think like, oof, I wish there was more of this. Like it doesn't feel big enough. Like not really. I still get to wander out into the world and stumble into something cool and, you know, get a cool new sword after that. Like that's great. That's fine. I will say they also make magic feel really good in this game. I chose to be a magic user, and like it feels like satisfying in a way that usually Skyrim and Oblivion do not. With magic, usually it's just hold the button and they will push flames out of their hand and like that's it. But with magic, it's like you can equip a wand which just does like kind of ranged damage and it doesn't suck. I feel like usually whenever a game gives you a wand to do range damage, it's like it's not going to be that good.
No.
But like it works great. It does damage.
Nice.
And you can equip these like grimoires in your left hand, which allows you to, without memorizing the spell, just like cast a spell. So
some
like
free run stuff, some grimoires, huh?
Yes, exactly. But once you like skill up and like get better like skill tree stuff, you can just memorize the spell, so you don't need the grimoire anymore. Oh, which is interesting. It makes it cool. Plus, you can do like, you know, the kind of block if you don't have the grimoire. You can do like a magical block, which is also very cool. Something they've added too that most of these kinds of games too is you have a dodge, and that really makes the combat feel more frenetic. I feel like, you know, I love Oblivion and Skyrim. Like the combat is not the thing I'm there for.
No.
It's fun and I'd like to do it, but like it's not as interesting as many other combat systems are.
I think there's a reason why most people choose the stealth archer.
Yes, because it's very effective and you don't have to have people all up in your grill most of the time.
Exactly.
Whereas like even as a magic user, it's like very okay to be like close to the enemies because you can still just dodge away from them and do more damage to them kind of beside them. And so it's, you know, you get like the bigger enemies will sort of telegraph their attacks to the point where it's like, okay, he's charging up for like a red attack, which I know I can't do anything to other than move. And so like you get into this very cool kind of flow state of like, all right, I'm going to focus on this one guy and learn his attack patterns and make sure that I'm dodging out of the way, rather than just like, I'm going to run back, drink 100 potions, go up and attack some more, drink another 100 potions, and then eat a turkey leg and then run up and hit him again. Although you can eat turkey legs in this one. That exists.
The medieval way. Drink some potions, eat a turkey leg, back out in the battle.
Get in there. And so like I just think they have made enough changes around the edges that it still feels like the combat in those other games, but they have made a meaningful enough change that it feels fresh and new as well. And so I'm really, really liking it. I had read that some of the momentum kind of gets lost towards the end of the game, which is how I felt about Outer World. And so I am interested if I feel that by the time I get towards the end of it.
Sure.
But right now I'm like really driving through the plot. It's like keeping great pace with me. And like, I think I'm realizing that pace is a really big thing for me with games.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like if it's not kind of drawing me along, I will lose interest and not keep playing, you know? But this one's great. It's allowing me enough freedom to do the side quests that I want to do and level up where I want to and, you know, upgrade the gear that I want to, which, side note, by the way, they give you so much less gear in this game than in any other Bethesda game. And it's so much better for it.
Yeah.
Like I don't need the 100 swords that they give you. Like they give you a lot. There's still stuff in here, but like there are so many in Skyrim. You pick up so much shit.
Yeah, because I'm auto looting everybody that I encounter.
Yeah. Like they give you enough and they allow you to like deconstruct some of it so that you can just upgrade the thing that you like. And like they make the crafting very simple and very like readable, and like I need 2 things and I need to find a lot of them. Great. I'm going to go do that and upgrade my wand. And every now and then you'll run into like a good weapon that has like unique stats or whatever. But it's just so much more manageable than the avalanche of shit that they give you in any other Bethesda game.
Sounds like they've pared back things that needed to be pared back, and it makes it a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, it feels like a game like this that is rooted in the current day. Like it feels like, yes, we are making Avowed in the 2020s rather than like, Starfield kind of feels like a game that was made in 2010 in a lot of ways.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And like, like I was referencing earlier to what Steven was saying, like this doesn't need to be the biggest splash I've ever played. I kind of just wanted more fun fantasy in this realm, and like it's doing that. So I'm having a good time with that one.
Hell yeah.
The other game that I've been playing, David,
is
related in a way.
Oh.
It is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, David.
What is this game? I hear a lot about it.
Yeah, this is a sequel to Kingdom Come Deliverance. Would you believe it?
Oh, I would not.
And it is a like medieval fantasy game that purports to be like very grounded in what it's doing. The first one really was focused on like the combat being challenging and like borderline hard to do, because like real sword combat is hard.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it is a game series up to this point that is like really, really intent on mechanical depth and density. And that is hit or miss for me sometimes. Like I think games that are really intent on like, we're going to make it feel exactly like it feels to do X or Y.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I love that and sometimes I don't,
Yeah. Sometimes there's a reason why I want to be playing a video game.
Yeah. But I think with like the success of something like Chivalry, which feels kind of similar in this realm, which is like a multiplayer game, but like the sword combat in that one also feels just like heavy and difficult to do. That I was like, I was into that game. So like, I should give this a try. I had played the first one, to be clear, and like liked it, but didn't really continue with it. But I saw that this one was like getting a lot of good press and people were like enjoying it, sold very well. And I was interested in a version of this game that kind of sanded off some of the edges, but obviously, it's not going to sand off all of them because that's part of the appeal. And I think that the connection to Avowed and Bethesda in general is that this game feels like it is inheriting a lot of the lessons from Morrowind rather than Oblivion and Skyrim. Meaning like it is a game that doesn't want to hold your hand in any way. Like,
sure. It looks at your hand and slaps it away, or maybe chops it off with a sword.
Yes. Yeah. Like it wants you to learn the lessons of the world, and it'll like the game has tutorials for sure, but like the things that are really going to blow up your spot, like you're going to have to learn that personally. And I know that like, after the really good response to Dragon's Dogma 2 last year, like that is a thing that I know some people will really like. The like hands-off approach to game design that allows the player to just try to figure out what works in this world and what doesn't, which is like, again, super different than Avowed. I think Avowed does not want to surprise you with like, what are the rules of this world in really any way. Like, they will always tell you that is a bad guy. If you get close enough to them, they will fight you. If you do this thing, it will have that effect, that kind of shit. Whereas like Kingdom Come does not do that. There are a lot of times where like early in the game, you'll have a bunch of dialogue choices. And like one of them is just so bad, like a truly horrendous dialogue choice. And you can choose it and it will just fuck your whole day up. Like it will just kind of ruin whatever thing you're trying to do.
Dang.
And so I think it's asking you to be like, please be careful. Don't just run through every line of dialogue in this game because it will not do well by you.
Yeah.
So to back up and just explain like what is going on in this game, you're playing as Henry in this one. Henry of Skalitz in 1403 Bohemia, which is yeah.
Okay, where is Bohemia?
It's like essentially the Czech Republic.
Okay.
It's like kind of that area.
Bohem.
It's not a place that I know really any history about. Like
same.
My history of that portion of Europe runs pretty much right back to like a little bit around World War I, and that's pretty much it. Like I don't have a lot of context for that stuff, and so in a lot of ways, this is like totally foreign to me in what's being depicted. But like it's peasant shit. You're walking around. The world is bad and looks pretty tough, and like lords and kingdoms and tiny little castles are pretty much the way of this world, right? Anyway, so you're playing as Henry. In the first one, like I guess spoilers, it happens within the first like hour. Like your whole village gets burned down, and like your dad and your pa and ma get killed.
Oh,
as Henry says,
pa and ma, no,
pa and ma, and And a lot of the first one is like you're hell bent on revenge.
Sure.
And in this one, you pick up playing as Henry, and he is accompanying Sir Hans Capone and some other guys from the town of Rete to Trotsky Castle to try and figure out if Otto von Burgo's allegiance to Sigismund is still all good.
Wow.
Just so like
Hans Capone though sounds like a mobster who like does not fuck around.
I think
right.
It's I should be clear. It's Hans. But I like Hans Capone.
Hans
much better.
Capone.
Yeah, you don't want to let Hans get his digits on you. You know, people don't come back from something like that.
They call him Hans because he collects hands.
So, like, just right out of the gate, it is hitting you with so much, like, this lord and that allegiance and these castles with this banner kind of shit.
So very Game of Thronesy.
It's pretty Game of Thronesy if there was no magic in there.
Sure.
Like, it is so just swords and bows and shit. But of course, things go badly, right?
Yeah.
You get denied entry to the castle. They're like, all right, we've seen bandits around here. You need to like camp near the castle and maybe we'll let you in tomorrow. They're like, all right, I guess that's what we do. Sure enough, Chekhov's bandits, of course, show up.
Chekhov's bandits.
And, you know, fuck everybody up. And then you have to like run away and end up in the like hut of this like local woman who's like, I found you in the woods and you were dying. I'm trying to heal you. And you're like, oh, thanks so much. I'm Henry and I love God and everything.
Is that what he says?
A little bit. Like, he's very religious, you know, like just, I think everybody was at a certain point, like, oh, I love Jesus. I don't know why I'm doing kind of an Irish thing. It's not at all the accent. But yeah, so like that area kind of serves as your tutorial of like how to heal, how to like go gather herbs. There is such an in-depth apothecary tutorial that you have to do where you're literally like lowering the pot that you have to boil and like crushing up herbs and putting them in there and shit. And there is no like quest log for that. You just got to read the fucking book next to you that says crush up some of these herbs and put them in, wait for it to boil, like shit like that.
I kind of like this. This sounds fun.
It is interesting. And like, it just depicts such a different version of game design than I think A is common at all. And B compared to Avowed is just so different. And like, to be clear, once you get out of this like lady's hut, that has taken probably 3 to 4 hours. Like,
should we at least take her on a date, Chase?
Yeah. No, I'm so sorry to whatever this woman's name was. I don't remember her at all, but she did heal us. It's very nice. But it takes so long. And that's not because like the game is so like Hideo Kojima pilled and is giving you like 20 minutes of cutscene. Not really. It's just because like the alchemy takes a while and like you need to like... There's a section where you like you fought somebody and he died outside this lady's hut and she's like, can you take him somewhere else? And so like you have to like physically pick him up and take him next to the river and dig him a grave and put him in there.
Wow.
And it just takes fucking forever.
Yeah.
And so like there's just every turn in this game, there is another like very deep mechanical, not twist, but just addition, right? Like after you go out of there, you roll up to this town and they're like, dude, you must wash yourself because you stink. Like because you've been like, you know, recovering in this hut for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And like that has mechanical implications. People don't want to talk to you if you smell bad.
Dang.
And so like you need to go find like these little troughs of water to like splash water on your face.
How bad do you have to smell for people in like medieval Czech Republic have to be like, dude, wash yourself?
Yeah, you got to get your shit together. I mean, probably pretty bad. You know, like they must be smelling horrendous for this to be a problem. But like, you know, they haven't showered or bathed in like a week or whatever, so like can't be smelling good.
No.
Anyway, so like all that being said, like it is just a game that wants you to just revel in the depth of these mechanics, right? And I think your enjoyment of that will be totally determined by how much that excites you. Are you excited for when in Dragon's Dogma 2 you wander out and a troll kicks your ass and you remember that one time someone told you like it's bad outside at nighttime, like do not go outside the castle walls, and then you're like, oh, okay, they were telling me the truth, you know?
Yeah.
Like if your kind of enjoyment of that sort of thing is present, then you might like this a lot, because like there is a lot of stuff like that. Like I was given a potion that I couldn't really figure out what its intent was, but one of the things was that it saves. And I will say, if you were a new player coming to this game, once the game like opens up and is like, all right, you're on your own, go figure it out now. For the love of God, save as often as you can merit, because it's definitely one of those games that like, oh, you didn't save half an hour ago? Okay, great. Go back to that checkpoint half an hour ago.
Brutal.
So like you got to drink the potion to save, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I think the game just doesn't want to hold your hand at all, like I was saying. And if you're cool with that, this game will have a lot for you, because, knowing my own experience at the very least, like once you make that next step into the next like area or complete a quest, it's like significant. It feels like, wow, like I really made it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I had no money rolling into this town. I smelled like ass. I had like a hand-me-down axe that was given to me 2 quests ago that does no damage. And yet I like beat this like troop of bandits, and now I was like rewarded and can buy some food and like can stay in an inn now, you know?
You're just scrapping.
Truly scrapping. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it's hard for me to discern if I love that, because same thing with Dragon's Dogma 2. It like at a certain point, if I get brutalized that much, I'm like, I don't know if I can continue, like I like to suffer losses in ways that don't usually set me back that far.
Sure.
Like even in Dark Souls, it's pretty rare for a death to really fuck your day up that badly.
Yeah.
You usually have to run back to where you died, or like maybe on a bad day you lose all the souls, but like it's not that big of a deal. It's so rare that you have so many souls that it's like a devastating loss, if you lose like 10 levels of souls, it's like, wow, that really sucks. But like it's usually like 1 or 2, and that's like just not that bad. But games like this and games like Dragon's Dogma, like sometimes they will just like kick your ass and be like, do better, like learn better. And I think that in the case of something like Dark Souls, the difficulty is in the action, whereas I think in Dragon's Dogma 2 and in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the tension and the friction is in learning and like knowing what to do.
Sure. Like
taking the lessons from the game world and applying them to the game, which, similar to board games, sometimes I'm not in the mood for, like I kind of need the bumpers on every now and then.
Absolutely.
And so like if I'm looking at the two of them next to each other, Avowed and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I'm usually reaching for Avowed. But that is not to say that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 doesn't have amazing shit in there. Because like the achievement that I felt about completing one menial, terrible quest in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is immense, because it's so challenging to do.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Avowed, I'm kind of just getting like more story, which is cool and a reward unto itself. But like, the gold that I got, I'm like, whatever, like it's fine. Like I'll go use that to buy more potions. No big deal. Whereas like every gold piece in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I'm like, God, dude, I needed that so badly. Like it's so effective for me to have this now. It's going to change my whole life. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. If I was a future seer, there will be something that makes me tap out of this game.
Sure.
But I think if any of that appeals to you as a game player, like there's something here for you. Yeah, honestly, like if you can get over the mechanical challenges of this game and like sort of the depth there, there's so much shit that I know you love. Again, the medieval political shit is just like right up your alley.
Love it.
Like, oh wait, but like that guy's bannerman was let fully into the castle when we were begging to get in there, and they're supposed to be enemies. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's happening there?
Something going on.
Something going on, right? Yeah. So like all of that's very cool, and I think being able to know like the lore and the backstory and all that shit like really pads out the world here and makes it feel very alive, which is interesting. Last note: sword combat's so fucking hard. It's like so challenging. It's like you have, if you're holding a sword, you choose essentially what direction you want to attack from, like left or right, top right, top left, or just straight up and down. And like you have to be looking at your opponent to see where they're holding their sword. It's like almost as if Skyward Sword wasn't motion controlled. Okay. It's like you just had to use the actual buttons. And like it's so slow and challenging. And like if you get hit, it's devastating. Or like if you even are fighting two people, that's like a huge problem, because one of them is going to come up and fucking stab you while you're fighting somebody else. And so like you really need to like get people either like fighting one-on-one or like try and hit somebody with a bow before you start the encounter so that they're dealing with that problem while you're sword fighting another person.
Sure.
And so like in that way, it is grounded because like it's dangerous to get into a sword fight.
Yep.
So yeah, it's challenging, but I think there is a group of people who will just like love that shit, you know?
That sounds fun. I want to try it now. It sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's worth giving it a go. It's like definitely full price right now. So like maybe wait until a sale or something.
Sure.
But you know, I think that there's something you might enjoy in this game.
Maybe I'll try the first one.
It's also worth it. Like a lot of the sword fighting and stuff is already in there. So, you know, you might take something to enjoy there. Anyway, David, this will all bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Which is?
It's when you make a game so good, they make a new genre about it.
Ooh, yeah, like what?
Well, the game that we're covering after this has spawned games like it, and they named a genre after it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
You know, a roguelike or a Metroidvania or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Just when it's so fucking good, they're like, well, I guess we got to do this now, you know?
Yep. The loop's so good, they had to give it a name. I don't know. That's all I got.
A little beat poetry with that one. Yeah, it's like, it doesn't even need to rhyme.
Doesn't need to rhyme. You got
just
it.
feel it. Yeah, I don't know. Short and sweet on that one.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do.
What is it?
It's when the main character walks away slowly from an explosion.
Oh my God, why? Why is this the thing?
Because they did it like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times, different times in Ninja Gaiden Black 2.
Okay, yeah, that is, they do make it look cool, I will say.
They
with
make
Ryu
it look
Hayabusa.
very cool with Ryu Hayabusa. He did it, I think there was like a big explosion he did it with. There were like 2 or 3 different bosses he did that with. Yeah, they really do that a lot. And I think that was like the last the last scene of the game was him walking away from something looking cool. I'm like, okay. And then the ending credits were him continuing to just walk away in the background.
It's very cool.
It's just like, all right, you're just really leaning into this game. He looks cool walking away from something in the background, an explosion or whatnot.
For some reason, when Michael Bay does it, it's cringe. But like, if you just, I think it's the sword, because if you just put the sword away while the explosion is happening, that really adds another layer to it that like makes me feel like, wow, he knew the fight was over to the point where he's just like putting the weapons away already.
Yeah, and I think also something else is that no actual human can be as cool as Ryu Hayabusa is.
It's tough, yeah.
Like, he pulls it off because he is a digital creation. Shia LaBeouf can't pull it off, you know? Yeah.
Ryu is also very cool because they essentially give him like the default skin. And like in any other game, this would be like the first thing that you unlock. And Ryu's like, that's just what I'm rocking with because I don't need all that extra shit. You know, like I've got the good sword and that's the thing that I'm going to use.
Yep. I got this good sword. I got the skin tight suit. Yeah, I'm going to rock it. Also, every once in a while, I would be playing this game, and then there will be an after image of Ryu's ass just right in the front of the screen. Just like the whole thing caked up.
It's a little treat for you and me. That's just one for the gamers.
It's pretty funny. So yeah, the whatever he's walking away from is getting a good view.
Yeah. I hate to see him go, but love to watch him leave. Is that the right phrase?
Hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave. I think that's what you said, right?
Hate to see you go, love to watch the cake.
Love to watch the cake. Link's gyat, right?
Somebody said that we've been on a particularly weird string of horny episodes recently. And I've got to agree. I don't know what it is about February. It's February. It's February. We figured it out.
This is the surprise theme for the month, everybody.
Yeah.
It's been a horny joke month.
It's horny month. We should have known. It's the month of love.
The month of love, and baby.
You want to move on to our main thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, great. Welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear. Gosh, all the things we love about them.
I knew what you were going to do.
We both looked at each other for permission. I felt like that time. But like, are we cool? And then, yes.
We cool. We finished our snacks.
Yeah, we did. We both had a little bit of a snack attack. You had what you described as slop.
Yeah. Also, grown-up hamburger helper. Hippie hamburger helper.
Yes, yeah. Quinoa instead of rice.
Yes.
And I had exactly 6 Chips Ahoy minis.
Exactly.
It came in the bag, and I saw how many were in there. So,
Might as well.
It was snack time.
It's delicious.
We got suggested by, you were mentioning our mutual friend Sam earlier. We got suggested by another Sam
Whoa.
to play the game The Exit 8, David. Sam had to say on the topic of this game, a horror puzzle game based on Highlights Magazine Spot the Difference games, which, that is what this is.
That's pretty much it.
It's exactly it, yeah. Had you heard of this before? Did you know what this game was?
So it was really strange when you had suggested this game, because in my sick bed, one of the few things I could do was, I'm not a TikTok person, but I have YouTube, so I'm a YouTube's Reels.
Oh wow,
person.
There's dozens of you.
There's dozens of us. But the algorithm had decided to show me some speed runs of this game while I was dying. And so I had seen like people beating this game in like a minute and 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, it's very fast.
Yeah. So that was my history with the game.
Yeah. I feel like I had seen probably also TikToks, but like clips of Twitch streamers streaming this. It's a very like streamable game.
It is, yeah. It seems almost designed for...
I think so. Yeah. Which like, I think somebody could hear that and think that means the game is less than, or like not as like built up as a normal game. But I don't think that's the case. Like there are some games like that. Some of particularly the games where you're just like running away from a monster and like that's the whole game. That sometimes feels like this is just intended for a streamer to scream at their camera and microphone and like get clips out of that. Whereas I think this one is definitely doing something more interesting with what's going on in the game, which let's just talk about what that is. Let's go to the hot stats, David.
Let's do it.
Hot stats.
The Exit 8 came out November 29th of 2023, so not all that long ago.
Wow.
And this was made by Tokake Create, or was it Kotake? I said that right, yeah. So far as I can tell, they made this Platform 8, which is a very similar game, just on a train. And then also an upcoming release called Strange Shadow, which looks neat, looks cool. But yeah, largely a newer developer. I do have a review from Jenny Leda at Siliconera.
Siliconera is a lot more fun.
Yeah. Because apparently there were not a lot of reviews of this game, like traditional reviews.
Yeah. I'd never heard of it, and it came out 2 years ago, so.
Yeah. So I had to dig a little deep, but Jenny Lada was there for us. So I took her review, ran it through Google Translate a number of times, one language into the other, eventually arriving back out in English to mangle it and get a artist's interpretation of that review, which I'll read for you now, David.
Let's hear it.
All this makes me think about making an Exodus 8 game, especially with CA, but staying safe won't make things worse. I love his job, and he does it for a very low wage. It's nice and fun to ride with other riders who ride for the same hobby, but after a few plays, you get used to it, so I don't think there's any reason to go back. If you're an addict like me, you'll want to come back again and again because it's just so fun and weird. Damn, Revenge of the Mucinex over there.
Oh, yeah, right. That's my laugh right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. You really hear it coming.
Yes.
the laugh itself. Yeah, so shouts out to Jenny on that one.
Jenny, was that a cry for help, Jenny?
I listen, I know that I read this whole review. None of this is in there, so please do not think less of Jenny.
This is a joke. This is a joke.
This is the Google Translate,
yes.
But I love his job, I love his job, and he does it for a very low wage. It's like, God damn, dude.
Get wrecked, Exit 8.
Yeah. Do you want to take a stab at what this game is?
Yeah. This game is a first-person horror puzzle game.
Yeah.
Where you are walking down a hallway, and it's always the same hallway. Or is it? There are sometimes different, like very small, sometimes different things in the hallway, or very big, obvious different things in the hallway. And whenever any of these anomalies pop up, you must turn around in the other direction and go the way you just came from, and then the same hallway will pop up again, and you have to see if there is an anomaly in this hallway. Yeah. And if there is not, you just keep on walking, right? So if there's no anomalies, you keep on walking. If there is an anomaly, you turn back the other way. You have to get that correct 8 times in a row to then get out of the hallway. to get to the exit 8, they say.
I think it's supposed to be modeled after like a Japanese train station hallway. So like it just looks like you're trying to exit some subway station.
Yes. Yeah. So you're in the hallway and there's always a man with a briefcase who walks down towards you. There's always some posters to the left, some doors and some vents to the right. There's like a yellow line that goes down the middle or like slightly askew to the middle of the hallway. And then you just have to look to see, okay, what's different? Is anything different?
Yeah.
And then determine whether you keep going or turn back.
What do you think about this one? How do you feel about this game?
I was skeptical of this game at first. I was like, is this really going to be enjoyable? It seems like, you know, the spot the difference games. It's pretty much that's what it is. And I enjoyed those as a kid, but it wasn't like I didn't love them either.
It's hard to imagine it turning into a video game.
Exactly. So I played this and I was like, okay, I can kind of see why it's entertaining. But then when I just could not get it at all, the game was, I was just stuck in this maze. It was kicking my butt. I was like, okay, I see why this game is entertaining, because you're just like really now having to look at every little nook and cranny and reflection and everything in this hallway to see like, okay, what the fuck did I just miss? Come on, what is going on here? So it is fun in that regard of, you know, it's this memory game each time you go in, and some of these things that are pretty innocuous. They're pretty well blended in to like the color scheme or just how it looks, and then or sometimes it's like, oh, the posters just slowly gradually get bigger or things like that. And you're like, you wouldn't notice it if you were just like plowing through, so you have to like take your time and look. So it almost becomes like an investigation game too, a little bit. It's like, okay, I'm investigating this hallway this time. What's wrong? And then sometimes it is genuinely creepy what is an anomaly in that room. Like when the man is smiling, or when he like
the smiling man is so bad.
That one, or like the weird man blending in with the wall in the background. Like, what the fuck? Or one of the doors will open to the side. There's just be a woman like peering out, like, hello. So or the river of blood that comes at you. So spooky things will happen every now and then in between the more like banal things, or like a like smudgy face in the ceiling. Or
is it banal or banal?
I don't know.
I think it's banal.
Banal?
I think
well, you don't want to talk about banal with me?
Hey, it's still February, so if you want to get that one out, feel free.
Hey,
but I think as of March 1st, it goes back to banal.
Nah, dude, it's banal. Don't you know?
Oh my God, we can't get away. Every time we try and take a turn, much like the exit 8, we keep coming back.
Yep. It's the pain. It's the pain of banal. Anyways, let's go.
Yeah, it's I had a very similar experience of like thinking I'm gonna cruise through this game. Like I'm gonna be so good at this, and like essentially whenever you don't catch one of the anomalies, the exit will reset down to 0. So like,
your counter resets.
You pass by a sign that's like slowly incrementing, and then if you miss one, it goes back down to 0. And it's like, what the fuck did I miss in that last room?
Yeah,
I was like half playing this, half watching Survivor, and like after half an hour in this game, I'm like, I gotta lock in, dude. Like. I have made so many mistakes. Like I've made so many mistakes already, and like just simply need to focus a little bit more.
I thought it was pretty cool when I first started playing it, because I was like, I played it for a couple minutes, and then I got to like 7.
Me too.
And then I didn't. And I just died continuously after that.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happened? I guess I'm bad at this now. I don't know if it has like some way of knowing which ones you miss and like repeating them over and over again to like try to trick you continually,
like test you.
But I was the same.
It was pretty rare that I ran into repeats. I feel like that only happened a few times.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of anomalies, and like I just can't. I suspect they have to want to try and give you different shit every time. It's always such a thrill to catch it like right before you turn the corner to go down the hallway, and like to commit to there being no anomalies, and then being like, wait, something was fucked back there. That was always really fun. I mean, obviously the ones that are very obvious are very jarring, right? Like the man running at you the minute you turn the hallway is just like, nope, I gotta get out of here.
Or like the big man.
Him being much larger. That one's really unsettling. But him either like smiling, or there's one where he just looks at you as you're going by, which is all horrendous.
Yeah, runs at you.
I will say it's not that scary of a game. Like
No.
we're describing these things, but like it's not horrible.
No.
All things considered.
No, it's creepy.
Yes, yeah. Like there's just like there's not a lot of fail state in this game. You kind of just like go back, so it's not like there's not a lot at risk, I guess, in the more scary moments. And I would say most of the time it's not scary shit. It's like the ceiling light is ajar a little bit, or like there's kind of a weird what looks like maybe a face on the ceiling, like a little bit, but like not so bad. Yeah, I had a good time with this one. I also felt like it was not going to be my cup of tea, but like it was very fun once I realized that I actually do need to like really focus. And I think the fun part is the moment when you're like, I am losing my mind in this game right now. Like I looked over every inch of this hallway and I swear to you, there is nothing weird in here. And then you go back and it's like, there was something weird there. It's like, dude, what was it? I have no idea. That's the most fun for me, to kind of like almost get you to lose your grasp on reality a little bit. That stuff really, really worked for me. Because yeah, with a spot the difference puzzle, the punishment is just like, oh, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's there's no issue. It's not, and you can clearly see like, oh, I see it now. There's the difference. Whereas a lot of the time, like you can run back into the hallway that you were just in, but like oftentimes I'd go in there and be like, I still don't know. I still can't see it. But it is a real thrill when it's like either you lose and then you go back and you're like, what am I looking for? And then you end up looking in a place that you somehow haven't yet.
Yeah. You're
That's
like,
like
oh,
incredible.
that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like for a long time, I wasn't looking at the back side of the sign, the exit 8 sign.
Oh, sure.
And like eventually looked back there, and it ended up being the one time that it just said like, go back a bunch of times.
Oh, that was creepy.
It's very good. Yeah.
The one that I could not get for the longest time was like when the second poster on the left would get creepified.
Yes. Yeah.
That one just did not stand out to me at all. I think I just went by too fast on all the posters. I was just like looking to see if they were all there and like kind of color matching to make sure they weren't like out of place. And then I just never saw like the weird creepy kids drawing of the face instead.
Yes.
That one, and then the red light on the second security camera.
Oh yeah. I only saw that one once, and it was because I went back because I'm like, I swear to you that one was perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, the red light was hard to spot. The posters, I was like sure that I needed to memorize like what time the stores opened and shit on the posters.
No, right?
I'm like, one of these times it's going to be weird. And I don't think it ever was in my playthrough. I think it was always the same. Because like, yeah, it's usually just a creepy photo is there instead.
Because I mean, I was wondering how detailed it'd have to be, but like remembering back to those videos I watched, they would like look down the hallway for like a split second and be like, twins, creepy face. This, that, the other thing. And I was like, if it's that quick to recognize, there's no way that they're like reading like fine print that far down the hallway that quick. So I was like, it's gotta be big things, you know?
Yeah. It is pretty fun because you look at the hallway in the game and you're like, there is no way I wouldn't notice the thing in here. Because like, there's nothing.
There's not
like,
a whole lot in the hallway.
No, not at all. And so I think part of the fun is them being able to hide a lot of this in plain sight. That like, it's only when you look at it again, you're like, oh my God, how did I miss this? You know?
Yeah.
The one that really fucked me up was the door. One of the doors had a door handle right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I just walked right past it. And then like, I was like, no, dude, the game is wrong. Is the anomaly that I should think that there wasn't an anomaly? Like what that kind of, that level of stuff. And then eventually had like, once I finished the game, I looked up like, what are all of the anomalies? I want to know all of them. And the door being in the middle, I'm like, that was for sure the one that I was just like so confused on. Because everything else is perfect. Like there's nothing out of place. No issues at all. Yeah, this is a fun game. What I was saying at the Podtimistic thing is that there's a bunch of the Exit 8 likes that are now coming out.
I had no idea. So they're just like, is it always like a hallway? Is it different things like rooms?
Yeah, not necessarily. I think it's mostly just like spot the difference games. Obviously, like Platform 8 was the next thing that this company made. Like Shinkansen Zero is one of them. The Exit 9 is apparently a thing, which I don't know if that's actually made by these guys or not. But yeah, there's what is it? The Cabin Factory, I think is another one. There's a lot of games like this. And I think like it also makes sense if you're a kind of an indie dev to be like, I would like to experiment with this because this kind of game seems so reproducible.
Yeah.
Like with so few assets, you know, like you don't need that much shit to make this a playable game.
Yeah. It's very riffable.
Yeah, for sure. Which is really cool. This is not at all the same thing, but like it reminds me in like jungle music, how they use the what is it? Not the take 5, the amen break so much.
Always back to your jungle beats, huh?
I mean, I still listen to drum and bass so much, but like when they use the amen break, it's like you just hear a piece of music. Sometimes it's like, man, that is it. We like need to make a whole genre about that.
Yeah.
And this one feels similar of like, this is such a small scale game that you're immediately like, I could do this with a million things and it would still be fun. So it's like, I think it's kind of smart to try and like make a game like this. It's a fun idea. It definitely calls to mind PT in a lot of ways.
PT, Control, Severance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, true. I think just the repeating nature of it all feels very PT, of like you get down one hallway and then you start right back at the beginning. That there is like a lot of horror in that. I think just like the idea of a never-ending loop that you can't get out of is very scary. And also like, I think if you were a person who has worked a job for more than like a couple of weeks, you'd be like, yeah, I know that. Like, I know that feeling of like, didn't I just get off work? How the fuck did I end back up here? You know? And so I think that there's like something very human about worrying about feeling trapped in a space, but also like the mental sort of anguish of having to do something over and over again and like that being the horror. It's cool. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I really, it grew on me as I played it. It was interesting.
It definitely seems like it's going to be a gimmick at first and like not actually that interesting.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's like, I think once the game was like, you do need to play this to beat the game.
You
I was
must
like,
pay
okay,
attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But that's cool. I like that a lot. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so. It's a fun game. I enjoyed it.
It's a fun game. I liked it a lot.
Looked great.
It does look remarkably good.
Yeah, looks
Like,
really good.
I think just because there's not very much that it's loading.
Yeah.
But like, good Lord, it looks very real. The man looks a little rough, but like the texture of the walls looks incredible.
Yeah, the hallway is that's a
good looking hallway.
That's a good hallway.
I read on like the wiki for this that they had prototyped this game, or like the whole development cycle took 9 months. 6 months of that were prototyping. Like they actually didn't specify, but I'm assuming just like different anomalies. And then 3 months of it was just actual development time, which is interesting to me, because like a lot of people would see that and be like, damn, 6 months of like coming up with ideas seems like a long time. But like that is the smarter route, I think, for a lot of development and especially game dev, of like, if you can like get so much of the idea making process out ahead of time, like it makes development so much easier.
Yeah.
Like there's all those like older videos of like Hideo Kojima like built a lot of the physical spaces from Metal Gear Solid 1, and he's like, he has like a physical camera that he's like moving around, and he's like, okay, so if you go under here, here's where the camera should be put, like showing, and then once you come out from under this, it's going to flip back up. And so he like built the game physically.
Yeah.
And like that's just such an effective tool to figure out like, is this going to work? Is this going to be fun? That like, I'm not surprised at all that they took that long, what quote unquote that long. This is so remarkably short by any other game development standards. But compared to how much it took them to actually like build it, it's, you know, double the time. But it's cool. Like I think that it's cool to try and look at like, what is the smallest version of this kind of game that we can build, you know? Because like you could definitely look at this and read like, there's not very much of it, which is true. Like,
yeah,
it only took me like 70 minutes, which I will say I got done with it. I was like, God damn, that felt like that took a long time.
Yeah.
But like you could see somebody saying that it needs to have more stuff in it, and you could for sure build a much larger game on this idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like building a couple of levels in Portal and being like, all right, that's it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like Tetsuya Nomura might have seen this game. He's like, all right, I know my next game.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. I mean, I would play whatever Nomura's building with this shit, you know? Again, weirdly in the lineage of PT, it's like it's a very small game that just like doesn't have like a larger scope to it. And I think specifically for this game, it works great. And also speaks to the experience of just like feeling like you're stuck in a subway station for a few minutes. It's like, it can feel like this of like, where am I going? Like, where is the exit here?
Yeah. There is something it taps into with feeling lost in a maze of hallways.
Yeah.
That I think is also disturbing.
It is, yeah. I can speak to the fact that in Japan last year, I got lost in subway hallways pretty regularly of like, where am I going?
Nightmare.
I can't read Japanese. Like, where am I supposed to walk? But, you find your way out. You find exit 8. Anyway, got anything else to say?
No, I don't.
Yeah, me neither. Thank you, Sam, for suggesting this game.
Thanks, Sam.
Appreciate you. Do you want to do the outro to give your vocals a rest?
I can do the outro if you Google search banal and listen to how Google says to pronounce it.
They say banal? Oh my God, they say banal.
Banal.
What in the world? That is like the prestige level shock here, David.
Gotta live the Bane life, baby.
Oh, wow. I on Wikipedia, the UK version is banal, but apparently us Americans
that does sound like the UK way of saying it. Banal. Yeah. No, we're all about banal in America.
on Merriam-Webster.com, they pronounce it banal, which is pretty shocking.
You can call me banal.
And the word, I'm going to spell it for you, Banally. The man says banally.
But not banally.
Not banally.
Not banally, like the mountain.
It's so weird. This audio clip sounds like it was recorded in 1934. Like it sounds so old. I really hope I'm able to download this and put this in the episode.
Banally.
Banal.
Banal.
Anyways. If you'd like to interact more with our podcast, you can do so at www.podtimism.com, a website that Chase has lovingly crafted for you personally. Yeah. You can go there and you can look up past episodes. You can look at our podcast art. You can suggest games for us to do in the future. And you can also find a link to the Worst Garbage Discord channel on there. So yeah, go over there and check it out. There's a bunch of other great podcasts on there as well. Give them all a shot. They good, man. Okay.
They good.
Thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for our beautiful podcast art. We love it. If you want to check out to see if her commissions are open, you go to co-fi.com/humblegoat and see what's good there. Come on down. So yeah, you can go and do that. If you want to help out the podcast, you can leave a review or you can spread the good word to a friend and see if they like us as well. And lastly, thank you, dear listener, for being here and spending your hard-earned time with us. As you can tell, we both understand very much how much energy it takes to do things in your free time during the day.
That's true.
Things like board games, sometimes it's too much. Sometimes even a video game is too much. But you are here listening to us talk, and we truly appreciate that. And it's still somewhat mystifying to us that people do that. So yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Chase, do you have any video game wisdom for us this week?
Yeah, let February stay in February, David. This is a game
are you afraid of it?
I'm just saying, like...
Hey, look, to be fair, I was just pronouncing it the American way.
Apparently.
Okay.
But like, there's an underlying vibe that we've been running with for a little while here, unknowingly. And I think we need to shine a light on it.
You were unknowing. I was fully lucid.
Yeah, you knew what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing.
I did not. I was just kind of going along to get along. And my promise to you is to not mistakenly make a bunch of weird, horny jokes in March.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Chase.
We had such a good streak for a long time. We didn't stumble into Link's Gyat or anything like that. But for whatever reason in February, we just can't keep it together.
It is easy to stumble into Link's Gyat, though.
It do be big. He's rocking a dumper.
He's rocking a dumper. Chase Allhart 2025.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.